Welcome back to Dadulthood and Happy New Year. Welcome into 2026. I'm hoping this year is going to be as busy as it was last year. I ended up buying lots of projects I didn't expect to be buying and having way less time on my hands to actually do anything with them. So this year, my New Year's resolution is to be a bit more organised, a bit more planned. So this video is the first of that to try and organise the rest of my year. So last year, the year started with a trip to the Arctic, which failed after a broken prop shaft. That seems like years ago now, but that was just 12 months ago in Frank, the L322 that I have outside at the moment. Later in the year, I ended up buying a Range Rover Classic that I've ended up calling Clifford, which is halfway through a restoration. Then I accidentally stumbled upon a Land Rover Series 2A, which is more a 3 now to be fair, called Hetty, which I'm also in the process of getting on the road. Now I'm very, very close to actually getting that on the road now, as you'll see on the videos later on, maybe even in this video. The car is ready, it is now running on unleaded. The door seals are on, the doors are on, everything's checked and ready to go. So I won't ruin too much because there's going to be some more footage in this video. So my first project for this year is to get Hetty fully on the road. I'm going to get her down to the garage down the road to do a non-compulsory MOT because she is a 1964. It's not, she is MOT exempt and tax exempt, which is great. She's all insured, ready to go, new tyres, new wheels, brakes are all good, so she goes. I did take her out for a bit of a spin last year now, which was terrifying for those of you who have driven old Land Rovers and remember their first experience driving them. I'm sure they can kind of feel what I'm feeling there. Having gone from a Range Rover L322 to a Series 2A, oh my God, it was like driving a tractor. So I don't know if it's working properly because I can't tell if that's what it's supposed to sound like, hence why I'm going to get it to a garage, get them to check it over, make sure I'm not doing anything stupid, and fix any bits that need to be done. Then I'm in two minds as to what to do. Do I keep Hetty, the 2A, or do I sell her? Now, if I sell her, that does give me a bit more money to finish the Range Rover Classic project, get that on the road, get myself a lift in here. I've been measuring up and I am going to get a scissor lift. So I'm just choosing whether I want to get a mid-rise or a full height scissor lift. Did look at getting a two-post lift in here, but we're really, really tight for space. I really wouldn't be able to use it for much because I can only get the cars up about a metre because of the height of the cars and the height of the workshop here. So looking to get a scissor, probably a mid-rise, scissor jack or scissor lift for here. Once that's up, I can do a bit more work. So selling Hetty, now she's on the road as a running driving car, because she wasn't a running driving car when I bought her. She's worth that little bit more. It will likely pay for what I've put into it, because I've not put a huge amount of money into that car. So I could flip that one, put a bit more money back into Dadulthood, back into getting Clifford back up and running, and getting the scissor lift done. I'm also on the cusp of buying another car. No, that is supposed to be my daily driver. I am sticking with the Land Rover family, but I'm going to keep it a bit of a surprise as to what I'm getting. I'm sure there are lots of you who will disapprove as to what I'm doing. It's not a new car, so I'll let you be the judge and let me know what you think I'm going to be getting. I'm likely to get a few comments once I pull up in it, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so that's going to be in the next couple of weeks, going to get hold of one of those as a daily driver. Driving Frank around at 13 miles to the gallon at the moment is not doing my wallet any good, and I don't have another daily driver car at the moment, so looking for something that's a bit more economical. So we are going to crack on with the projects. I think the next bits of this video are going to be some stuff getting Hetty ready. I think I'm getting the doors on, the door seals, all that kind of good stuff. And I think I've even got some footage of my first drive. So I'll leave you with that and I'll see you again very shortly. Thanks. What I'm going to do is take off these nuts and bolts from this side and should be able to get the door off itself, and that will leave me just the hinges on the frame to move on with. You can see all the water dripping out of this, which is why these things rust. They just collect water. Now I need to see whether that is actually turning the No, it's not turning the bolt, that's fine. That one's already got no nut on it, and that's not got on it either. So they're all off, so I just need to get that's off as well. And then the door comes off. And there we go. We have one door off. How big is that spanner? Yeah, they are all. Okay, right, so there's the other one. A couple of love taps, and I reckon that will be off. There we go. Second hinge and gasket. Wonderful. So these are all actually okay, these hinges, these seals. I'm going to give them a bit of a clean up with WD-40. Same with these. Give them a bit of a clean up. Ready for the new ones to go on. I think that's all it's going to need for the time being, because it's not actually that rusty behind there. And then I can show you one of the new doors. That's the plan anyway. Right, so now the fun bit, to a degree. It is really poor lighting in here, isn't there? There's not really a great deal I can do about that. Apologies about that. So we are now going to try and get the new door onto here. What I might do, I've already got the hinges loosely put on the doors, and I think I'm going to leave them like that, because I think I'm going to do, because I'm doing the lowers first, then the uppers on top of it. You'll see. Put this out the way. I'm just going to wash my hands real quick. This is what we are going for. Black Raptor. And whilst I faff around for the first time doing this, have a look at the video of me doing these and setting these up. So I decided to buy two new replacement doors. The rear doors were absolutely shot. Every time I slammed the back door, certainly on the side you're seeing here, that back door there, it would just knock a pile of rust out the door itself. So it was hanging on by a thread. They needed to be replaced. I suppose with a bit of time and care and some welding, they possibly could have been brought back to life, but they're not genuine doors anyway. So I wasn't particularly fussed. So on eBay, I think the seller was Stamp Panel. I bought a £400 kit, which was two rear doors. That's a lower and an upper, so a window frame and the actual lower door itself for each side. The rubber membrane, rubber strip that goes in between those two panels. And also these are anti-burst latches on these doors as well. So they're slightly more safer than the original kind of old barn door kind of looking latch on the old Land Rovers. It meant also there's a key lock for each of these as well, so they're very slightly more secure from a security perspective. Not hugely, but you know, it's a little bit of difference, I suppose. Now, obviously, the car isn't black, and as you can see, I'm painting it Raptor black. So the whole idea is that the car will be eventually Raptor blacked. It hides a multitude of sins, covers up old paint quite well, you know, and it's quite an easy task to do. So that's what I decided to do on this. The doors themselves came with a delivery coat of paint. I don't think it's particularly hard-wearing paint. So I thought, I'm going to have to paint it with something. And it seemed balmy trying to mix up and match that kind of pastel blue and the patina for just these rear doors, just when I'm going to go and paint it in black Raptor anyway. So I decided to kind of like jump ahead, paint these Raptor black. So they're going to stick out a little bit for the time being, but they'll do the job. And they actually came up pretty nicely, to be fair. So this is kind of what we're looking at. I'm quite used to doing Raptoring now, so I can know how to get the finish right. There's no striping or anything like that at all. Really nice, consistent finish. It's best to do like a mist coat afterwards. So like your third coat, do a mist coat, keeps it completely standard across the top. It's a really nice finish on this. So Very happy with that. That was 2 cans of Raptor that was, so I'm not going lightly on this. I want it to be decent coverage. So yeah, let's get them inside. All right, we're back on the doors. The Raptor has dried really nicely. I'm just looking at these anti-burst door latches, which in principle seem like a very good idea. They come with a full kit with the brackets and all that kind of stuff. They came with these doors. However, like anything, it seems to be Land Rover aftermarket. It seems to be acceptable to sell something that doesn't fit. So first things first, this doesn't fit flat, even in the slightest. So the first thing that I need to do is basically grind this back. It's mainly this one here, I think. That one here and that one there. And that one there. These welds, just need to grind them back. Then I'll need to repaint them again. And this sits quite a lot lower than the level of this. That's almost flush, really. That sits quite a lot lower. So it's going to tilt back somewhat as well. I might have to put a washer in between, which again is a bit of a pain in the arse. There's no gasket or anything. The second thing is that we've got 2 holes here at the top, which are narrower than the 2 at the bottom. And that's not what you get with the kit. So with the kit, you've got 2 at the bottom, like that, which will be fine. So this one, I believe, goes through the bottom. This pokes through, and then comes the washers. And this one is supposed to come through the top, and you're supposed to screw it in. However, obviously, there's nowhere to screw that in. There's a second hole here. So I might see if there is another hole I can screw those into. Otherwise, what I might do is do a nut and bolt on this one and a riv nut on this one. We'll see. That might work quite nicely. But again, the riv nut's going to sit proud as well. So a bit of a pain in the bum, really, because it's just like, ugh, nothing's ever just... They even sold it together. It's not even like it was sold separately, which is really chuffing annoying. So I'm going to have a look at see what I can do with this. But first off, I need to grind these welds down with a flat wheel or something like that. I don't think it won't take much to do it, but it's just a pain in the arse. I mean, look at that. I mean, there's no attempt to kind of sand these things down, but either way. Anyways, they were still 400 quid, these doors, so it's not like they were cheap crap. Maybe that is cheap crap, I don't know. Anyways, let me get on with these welds and I'll see if I can get this latch on. There we go, that's better. There we go. Right, sits flat now. So, fits nicely there. And there. It does not fit nicely there. Let's see what the hole is for the door lock. Oh, the door lock hole is actually okay. So these bottom ones are right, but I'm going to need to do something with these other ones. So ideally there's going to have to be I'll have to put a washer underneath there. But that one's not too bad. So that's that one. So I'm not quite sure which way around this goes. Let's have a quick look. I'm guessing it goes that way. That's 8. Hopefully I didn't damage too much on the other side of that one. A little bit, I can touch that up. Okay, let's get this fitting before I paint it. That. I think that one's going to be okay. I think that one's going to have to be moved. Worst case, I might put one, that's going to sit even further forward, isn't it? So that one, we might be okay, because I reckon if I put that in, like that, that's going to sit far enough forward to not need a washer. That'd be a bit of a diamond, wouldn't it? Etch. It's dry. Whereas I've not got a mic on, so apologies if you haven't been able to hear it. I still haven't put a mic on, so I'll just shout instead. Come back to it in a bit. Okay, I'm back and I've got a microphone. Right, this is reasonably dry. So we're going to try this now. I have decided I'm not going to be using riv nuts. I don't like the look of the riv nut underneath the actual thing itself. So I'm going to go with a washer this side and then a nut and bolt washer the other side. So the nut is going to go through, be the other side. So anyway, you'll see what I mean. Let's get this through. Right, so that's in the right place. Let's get that through. So big one this end. Find the hole. You do need minuscule hands for this. There we go. Right, so that is one door essentially done. There's a marking on this side which I'm a bit nervous about. I don't know if you can see it, but like a grey. Hoping that isn't going to be a problem. But that looks pretty good. Like that. And then you also get this little thing, which you stick on the outside, which looks quite nice as well. I don't know if you can see that. Am I still in focus or have I completely lost the ball? Dropped the ball on that one. Ah! There we go. So it fits in there quite nicely. And then, yeah, and then I'll stick that on there, but I need to get the lock in there. I'm not sure how to get the lock in. To get these locks, which you then just put off the key ring. Pop it in, and then you turn the key, I think. Okay, so then just need to get this one on. This little, oh wow, zoomed in. Excuse me. Get this little thing off. Hopefully that's decent sticky. And then onto here. And there we go. One door, kind of complete. Quite pleased with that. Okie dokie, that's the lower done anyway. I have ordered some hinges, but I can't obviously, I haven't got them yet, so I can't put this on the car, and I'm not building this up until it's on the car. So literally I'm gonna put the lower half on the door, hinges, put the lower half on the car with the hinges, because both hinges are on the lower half anyway, and then build up the top of it whilst the thing's on the front, and then I can get everything in the right position, ready to go. So one door done, we just need to get the other door done now. But I am very pleased with that. That looks quite smart. Here we go. Look at that. Another complete door. Wonderful. So, just wait for the hinges to turn up now, and I can actually piece them together on the car. Feeling mighty miserable at the moment, but I'm just getting on with a few bits and pieces this weekend. So, we've got the hinges have turned up from Powerful UK. I haven't been hard about these things for ages and decided not to buy some cheap hinges and just go for it and buy these. They are not cheap. It's a front and rear set. I think it was like 375 quid or something like that for the brushed stainless. I did look at billet alloy as well, but I think these are stronger. And I mean, Hetty's hardly lightweight, bless her heart. So yeah, so what we've got, these are the rear ones. So we've got a pair here, wide here, so that's a pair. And then a pair here, which are wide here, wide here. And then we've got the front ones, which have the bolt holes for the wing mirrors as well. So that's a whole set for the front doors, which I haven't even done yet. So I'm going to get these onto this door, which is this is the left-hand door. I'm not quite sure what the door this way up, because it doesn't go this way up. But we're going to have a quick look at seeing what these are going to look like, how they're going to fit on, whether I'm going to need to grind anything down, which is bloody highly likely, probably, knowing these doors. So let me get you set up, and we'll have a quick look. Okie dokie. Let's gosh, I'm not feeling too clever at all today. Right, so we've now got the handle in, which is looking pretty good. I'm quite pleased with that. And then here we've got, so it's wide at the bottom, and so let's work out. So this hinge goes. So these are not the right ones. It is these ones. Because the hinge goes on the door, that's slightly looser than the other ones, I have to admit. So that's going to go there, right at the bottom. That is going to look wicked, if I do say so myself. And then we've been given some gaskets as well. Door pillar ones and door ones. And then we've got to work out which ones go through where. We've got a rear fitting kit. Which one's that one? That's the front door bolt kit, and this is the rear bolt kit. Let me just get some Thorth. 1 second. So this is the fitting kit for the rear. I'm assuming that the really long bolts are going to be for the hinges to the pillar, so they go right through at the top with nuts and ting. So we've got 1, 2, oh, very long ones, 3, 4. How many of these have we got? There we go. Each door, because they will go through, basically through these ones here, into the frame at the top, because they go right the way through. The ones at the bottom will probably be these ones, I would have thought, like that. Not that one. We go through there, because they'll go then into the actual capture, the little captive nut. I'm not quite sure why they would be quite so long. So we're just going to have a quick look and see what works. So either way, just go wide at the bottom. Not particularly impressed with that one. So we grab a door gasket, like that. A bolt, another bolt, and then, oops. Don't suppose it really matters which way up that goes, does it? But like that. And that will go through. Like that. That is not a lot of thread, that side. Unfortunately, there are no instructions with this, so I'm not entirely sure which ones would go where. Like that. And then get a nut and washer on each of those. Sorry about the sniffing. Oops. Come here. Now this is going to look a bit funny on Hetty, because Hetty is obviously a blue car, but I didn't want to try and paint these the same blue colour because I was never going to match it up, and this is what Hetty is going to look like when I'm done. So it seemed crazy to do it any other way other than to prep these the same way I'm going to be doing the rest of the car. Although one thing I do need to now check is to make sure that these things fit in properly. Nope, it goes like that. Like that. That's going to fit really nice. I'm super pleased with that. I'm glad I went black with these. I was going to keep these galv, but I don't really like the galv look, to be fair. So I've done these black satin black, and then there's a rubber piece, and then the top goes on. So yeah, I'm not going to try and push those on just yet. We may need to relieve this lip a little bit, push it back, because these are not the greatest, especially down this end, it's a bit thick. So we might need to alleviate that a little bit. But yeah, these look pretty good, to be fair. Quite looking forward to putting them on. And then I need to try and find a bung or something to put at this end, because that end I have to cut, because you have to cut the front ones, that's what you can do, you can't seem to buy back ones. And then there's this rubber strip that goes on over the top of that before the window goes on. So that is that. Okay, so we are back. Let me get the nuts and bolts for these. I'm going to go through there, so it's the shorter ones at the top, the longer ones at the bottom. These are all the same length. So they're at the top, they're at the bottom. It's two really long ones and two shorter ones. Two shorter ones will go through here, I'm assuming. Yep. And the longer ones will go through the bottom. So let's try and hang these buggers on, shall we? Right. Two top ones. Need a gasket. I've not got the gaskets out yet. And longer ones at the bottom. And that will be there on that one. Right, now let's see if it goes on. Well, it does go on. Like that. Like that. So, what I do need to do is remove, I'm going to have to go like that. I do need to remove the old latch because these are anti-burst door handles. So I need to make sure that I get the right latch on the actual frame itself. For the moment, let's just get a nut and bolt on each, like that. So it is now on there. What I'm going to quickly do is take off that latch because then I can actually swing the door closed to get it in position. So that is just here with, looks like an M8, not an M8, an 8mm socket, I think. That's the latch. And that's that one gone. So in here somewhere, there'll be a couple of washers and whatnot. Right, so now this should be able to go in and sit in the door frame. It does, like that. And that's how we want it, really. Like that. So I'm going to start to get them tightened up. Then I can hoik it up into position and get the final bit done. But that is essentially what the car's going to look like. Quite pleased with that. That's the top alignment, and that's pretty good. Could do it a little bit more, but we can adjust this as we go. Let's get the front in. This one down here, because that will sit the door in a lot better. Okay. Now if we can bring that forwards, so it sits in complete alignment, that would be terrific. Like that. That still won't be in alignment, so we might need to bring those forwards as well. So let's tighten those up a bit, but that's probably about 2 or 3 mil out of alignment, which is pretty damn good if you ask me. So it's actually got a slightly smaller shut line than that door. Fine. Whew. I need Pepsi Max. Right, should we have a look at the top? So I don't want to do too much Raptor because it can get a bit much. So this will go in. YouTube styly. My battery ran out on my camera, didn't realise. We have got the top basically placed on. This is a dry fit. And we have decided to put the on this way around. Now, I have read a dozen posts with every expert saying which way around it should go, but this one is done by an expert. They reckon it's this way up and on the inside, and it makes sense. So the actual rubber strip gets riveted to the upper panel. So the rivet, so I've got some spare stuff here. So that kind of channel, that has to be facing down. Okay, so it has to face down because that gets riveted and the rivet heads get covered by that and it gets riveted into the top panel. So it has to go that way up. So it is just a matter of choosing whether it goes that way around on the outside or it goes that way on the inside. Now, it looks like it should be made kind of for the outside. However, if you look close in these windows, there's a little hole there and another one along here. That if this sits up next to it, covers that hole. Now they're weep holes. So if any water that gets in through these channels, and let's just face it, these are not particularly waterproof cars, they can, the rain and everything can weep out of those holes. So having those covered up is gonna rust your doors out. So it makes perfect sense to have these on the inside. So that is what I've done. So no doubt there'll be a dozen people with more experience than me who will say I'm wrong, but for the time being, that is fine. So The next thing I need to do is sort out this burst latch or anti-burst latch. It's going to go in here, but that is for another day because my arm's hurting and I need to go home. However, the door is ready and reasonably aligned. I think it could still do with a little bit more alignment, but when it's all in, that's not bad. Kind of a first attempt to fit in one of these doors. I think when that latch goes in properly, I think we're going to get a better seal. Because at the moment, I can't imagine how that's actually going to close. But it does sit quite squarely on the car, and I kind of like the look. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I can't zoom out, I'm already zoomed out. But I kind of like that. I think it's going to look good. So, it might be in the rest of this video. It might be another time I want to do the latch. But yeah, so far so good. Good morning, it's another day on Hetty, and today I'm doing more of the doors. It is about 2 degrees outside, so it is a balmy 2.5 degrees here in the workshop, hence the jacket. But I wanted to kind of give you an update as to what's been going on with these doors, because it's been a bit of a pain, quite frustrating, but somebody did come to my rescue, which I will show. So let me just quickly flip you around. So these are the 2-part doors that I've bought for Hetty that you've seen me paint with the Raptor. So that's all done and nice. Did the satin for the strips on the top, and again Raptor on the top as well. So this is what the whole car will end up looking like. And I upgraded to the anti-burst latches, which look like this. So rather than the old sort of barn door latch, they've got these latches. Now the issue being is that they have these inside, which can be a bit of a pain. So they're a bit of a pain because however you try to set them up, they're just incredibly difficult to actually fit. So as you can see, I've milled out all sorts of spacing behind it, all that kind of stuff. And eventually, I happened to be talking to Pete at PI down the road, link in description, who said, no, he doesn't even bother even trying with those anymore. So he mills out, sort of dremels out the back with this pin, takes this pin out, re-drills the hole, puts it back in and welds it in place. So put that pin in the right place. And that works absolutely brilliantly. I am practice fitting the trim at the moment. Bear with me. Hang on, I'll take that off and I'll show you. So now, with that in place, we have lockable anti-burst doors. So that fits really, really nicely, but it is an absolute pain. So I've just got to do the other one across the way, get that sorted, and then I'm going to start doing the seal. So the seal is another thing. So the seals on these things, let me quickly go around to the other side. I've already taken the old ones off, unfortunately. But on these seals, as you can see, on the series cars, they have this, and you can actually see it, they have like this lip here. It goes all the way around, and the seal sits inside and rivets through these holes. That's kind of how it's supposed to be. And it's all the way around this L shape. Now, what I've gone for is the Defender style single piece. So there's one piece that goes all the way from the bottom, all the way up over the top, all the way down here, down to the bottom here. And then this piece remains. So there's a single piece, and that leads to just basically a better seal. So the issue with that is, though, is on the Defenders, you don't have this lip. Okay, it's just a straight flush piece of steel that it presses onto, like a traditional door seal. So around this side, before I went home the other day, what I tried doing was bending down, as you can see more clearly here, is bending the L back down flat, to basically sit this on, rather than excuse me, rather than cutting it off completely. The issue with that is, though, because it was worth the experiment, the issue with that is, if I go to put this on, hang on, if I try and do this, how I'm going to do this, hang on, one-handedy, right, like that, there's this gap here, which is about maybe 10 mil almost, actually. Now that is because, obviously, this distance here never used to be there. It used to sit sort of about here, but now it's sitting all the way out here, which pushes the seal outwards. And it's the same at the top, but it's pushing it right the way down. So what I am going to have to do is draw a nice long straight line along there and cut cut that back, possibly almost up to the rivet holes, and then sit the seal so it touches right onto the roof, and again onto the sides here, all the way down, so it sits much closer in. That is the kind of the only way you can really do these things. I've seen them on forum. People said no, you can bang them on even without bending the L shape down. But I have tried that, and it just widens out the back of this seal. It widens it out, and it doesn't hold very well, and it also kind of moves it round slightly, which just doesn't orientate it very well. So I think you're going to do it right, cut it, because let's face it, this is not, it's not an award-winning Land Rover, is it? Let's face it. It's probably not even the original tub. It's not the original bulkhead. It's not the original wings. It's like, come on. So people do get funny about cutting. It's sacrilege to cut these things off, but it really isn't. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish doing that door hinge over that door latch over there first. Get that on and working so that I've at least got 2 doors that close. And then I'm going to start with the door seals. So I've already done this one. So yeah, I'm going to stick you up probably on a time lapse, and you can see me struggling with the other one. Wish me luck. Something that's worth understanding on these doors is that when you get them right, it's very satisfying. It's not easy to get them right. So the reason being is because there's just so much movement in these doors. Because you've got these 2 bolts here that actually attach the hinge to the door. You've got the 2 bolts here that attach to the door. And then likewise, you've got 2 associated bolts here on the frame itself and here. Now what that means is, and you can see this, but you now have movement in like all different axes. So on the door, up and down itself, all sorts of different ways, which means you've kind of got to get the door in place and hold it there and then tighten up all the bolts, which sounds really easy, doesn't it? But it isn't. So you kind of need a second pair of hands, and I don't have a second pair of hands today. But realistically, you kind of need to get it into place. The way you can do it is get it into the right position, like that, and then get some wedges at the top here to hold it in the right place. That's probably the easiest thing to do, and that's likely what I'm going to do with this one. I did think I had this in the right place already, but I couldn't get that that altered door latch, the anti-slam door latch, in the gap between the door and the actual tub itself. It was too, even though I've taken some off the back already of that one, there just isn't enough room, which is a bit odd. So I've been trying to move the door forward slightly, but it's just not going. So I might have to trim the back again on this door. It's been a bit of a pain. But yeah, so the best thing to do is probably get it into the right position and then use wedges everywhere. So you might be able to get away with just having wedges at the top where it's got the most space, or probably at the bottom here, something like that to help with it. And then literally do all the bolts up once that's held in place. Anyway, that's my top tip of the day. I just need to go and get some wedges now because I'm not sure I have any myself, which is brilliant. But ideally, I need to bring the whole door forward. It does sit quite far back, but I've done everything I can. That hinge is now sitting right the way forward on this bulkhead. That one is as well. Whether or not I need to undo this one to lift the door up like that, I'm not sure, because that one's not undone, I don't think. Because they're not particularly easy to get to, these bottom ones. They're right the way underneath. And again, I think, do you need a spanner on this one? I can't remember now. Where are we? Right, so now the door is completely loose on all of the areas. So it's loose on all four of these, And now you've got to try and get it into the right place. So it's easier said than done, because it's just not easy at all. So I'm going to lift the door up like that, because it needs to be higher up anyway, like that. that. That needs to be higher up as well. So yeah, you just need wedges. So I'm going to go and try and find some wedges. Like that. Which is a long way off at the top. That makes the door kind of do that quite a lot, which is unnerving. It's a big gap at the bottom. So, but that is straight. I reckon about there. So I'm going to tighten those up now. In theory, I can take that off. And now this is in the right place. Now I don't expect that to come off, that's fine. That's kind of the whole point. But that now should be able to go in there. And it can. Right, okie dokie. Whew. Like that, okay. Now this will all make sense in a moment. Okay, so take that off now. And now what we've got left is a template where that needs to be, and roughly speaking, where we need to drill. Now, what we've got in here, so in this, you can see, I don't know if you can see it behind it, but the holes have been elongated by Pete as well, so I've got some lateral movement. So if I drill out, mark out where the holes are, drill out enough of a hole behind it, the plate behind it's got some room to move up and down. That means I've got lateral movement side to side and I've got up and down movement. So let's get this rough into the right place, like that, and draw that. That one's already gone through there. It's no real drama because it's a fixed plate behind it. There's tons of it to hold on to, so that might be enough now. So what I'm going to try and do is hold this in place. This is a gloves off thing, this is, because you can't really feel behind it very easily. And let's just see how it closes. Where it's just catching on that bottom bit, just a little bit. It won't affect the use of the actual thing itself, and that should help. I just got to try and find the sandy bit for my Dremel now, which is easier said than done in this bloody workshop. Back in a minute. Really lovely, actually. Might even do a bit with that dremeling on that side as well. So yeah, let's get the top on and we'll see how it looks in toto. Right, where's the jobby? Like that maybe? I don't know. Oh. That's better. That's still sitting quite close to the frame, but when there's a seal on there, it might be okay. That's going to be a bit of a pain, I think. But that does. I now have a door that closes. Woohoo! And locks, more to the point, because people will be looking to steal this shiz because it's so valuable and things. Maybe. Right, okay, I now have 2 doors that close. I am getting a bit fed up with this LED light shining me in the face, so I'm going to have a coffee break and then I'll be right back with you. Right, so I've had my celebratory coffee. Now, I need to get rid of the rest of these seals before I start cutting these off. So these lower ones are riveted on. So there's literally one, it's basically on each pinch point, there's a rivet, or at the one end of each run, and a couple of way down these as well. So literally going to take these out, and then, okie dokie. So the weather is cheering up outside, it's lovely and sunny. So I've opened up the shutters and we've got a bit more light in here. So all the rivets have gone now, taken them out. They do appear to be ones that hold that inner panel to this as well. I needed to get them off to get the seal on properly, but what I might do is put on a new rivet to rivet these in place. But for the time I'm just going to test fit how these things are going to go. So this is what I mean. So here I've got a space to attach the seal around this piece here, okay, because there's this gap, and that gap is supposed to be there by the looks of things. Whereas you come down here, where a seal usually sits on top of here in this gap, much like this one here, there is no piece on the side. These 2 bits are very close together, so I'm going to have to rivet them together, then cut off both of them, both this inside lip and this outside lip, to be able to get the seal onto it. But I think I am going to rivet them first, because I feel like I'm going to come a cropper if I don't do that. So let's get the old rivet gun out, and I've got some stainless rivets. Let's get them on there, and yeah, then we'll start cut-a-rooning. And there we go. So that's all now back to how it should be. Fine. Okay, next I have to trim off the top of that, and I could do with a piece of this as a kind of guide, but you see, to get that to sit down there, the top of it needs to sit below that. So I think I'm literally just going to need to go across the top and take the whole thing off. Okay, so what we're left with a lot of cutting and grinding is this straight edge, which is taken down, taking a nip out the top as well, so we get covered up, get all the way down here. So obviously it thickens out here, so this will be interesting as to whether it actually goes over it. It should do. This side is already on and looks great, so I'm optimistic. So I'm just going to try and pop that on now and see what that looks like. And that is now what it looks like. So we've got the seal, goes all around the outside. Sticky outy a bit here, which is kind of fun, so I need to bring this window out slightly like the other side. That seal is all the way down. It's not great there, but that's the door alignment. Bit of a dent there from where I had the check strap removed. Other than that, the bottom one needs to be done, obviously, but the door does close and open. So it does open. Sits down quite nicely in there. Can do it, it's a faff and it's not perfect, so you've got to be happy with things that aren't perfect. Round here it's a real struggle. It doesn't want to bend in, especially as it's quite wide. So what I might do in fact is cut off some of the back area of here, literally that piece there, all the way down here to there, off the back, just so that the seal sits there, so it sits at the front instead. That's kind of my plan. Or maybe even a bit of glue or something like that, a bit of Sikaflex. So this sits back, but it does shut. It does shut. I do have to pull the window out slightly at the moment because I've not set the window. But it does shut. Thank God for that. I mean, in fairness, it's no better than that one. No worse than that one even, sorry. So yeah, I mean, the door sits very high. I'm not particularly pleased with that, but when we go to do a full resto, I'll get the stuff done then. But until then, that is done. So, the car is now insured, actually, and running. And I think I've got a bit of fuel in it. I might see if I can take it around the yard. Why not? Okay. We are, weirdly, just goes to show how balmy the UK law is. We are fully legal. I have checked the car, to be honest. I've checked all the brakes and all that kind of stuff. But we're now going to try and see whether this thing's actually going to do anything. Get up to temperature before I go out anywhere. We'll keep an eye on the temperature, and that doesn't seem to be doing a lot at the moment. Where that's rubbing. There we go, first drive. And we have got some water temperature as well. That's just started going up, which is great. Into park. Into neutral, drive. Well, that's an experience, isn't it? Right. Let's pop them away. Sorry, Hetty. Her away. Fan works. Okay. Frightening as hell. That running gear needs lots of help, and I need to find out a bit more about this transfer box, because that felt like high range, even though it's got an L there and an H here. So either way, frightening and wonderful all at once. No handbrake, which is always good. Okay, onwards.